one of the problems that is important to the meat industry is, well, how do we make that meat last longer? How can we make its shelf life longer? Without necessarily irradiating it, as is done in some places, or even heating it, because in the process of pasteurizing it, you actually change the chemical content of the meat, you change the proteins in the meat, and it changes the flavour. So what we wanted to do was find a way of impulsively, very quickly, changing the pressure by increasing it and then decreasing it. And one way that you can do this is by generating what's called a blast wave in water. So if you explode something underwater, a thing called a blast wave comes up from it and expands out, and there's a very high pressure behind that, followed by a very rapid reduction in that pressure. And the way that we do it is to focus a very powerful laser beam into the water. It used to be that lasers that were powerful enough to generate sparks like this had to be very large and bulky. But now we have these lasers that are very small. They're small enough to be used as things like spark plugs in engines for cars, that can generate very high peak powers. And it's that sort of technology that we're using. And if you take all the energy from the laser and you dump it in a very short period of time, you basically generate an explosion. This creates this very high pressure followed by a very low pressure. You can control how big that pressure rise is, and it doesn't heat the water after the shock wave. So it's actually a sort of a cold treatment for meat. So that's the idea. But in order to do that, we had to build a very high pressure vessel. So even though the pressures that we're using are not extremely high, they're still 50 megapascals. So it's the pressure that you would feel if you were halfway to the bottom of the ocean. And building a vessel with windows in it where you can see what's happening and with instruments in it that can measure pressure and temperature is extremely challenging, and that's the other technological part of the program. So not only are we developing a new method for treating meat samples, but we're also developing new technologies for high pressure vessels where you can see what's going on.